Well, hello and welcome to Gmodism Total Learner channel. We're back into Satisfactory. And this time we shall be looking at steel production, some big steel production. Because we have already done some basic steel production, and you may remember that this was magically converted into, well, encased industrial beams. So it is time that we take our steel and we go over to the steelworks area, because we're going to use one of the new coal sources. Oh my god. And well, we're gonna set up a big production there. And the reason why we do this now, this is because we have well, recently unlocked miners Mark II, which means that we can produce steel in a much faster manner than we could before. A manner that makes it so that it's easier to just make it from scratch rather than upgrading an existing facility. So let's go there and plan out our steel production. So here we are at the coal power plant, and this is of course the area where we will be getting our coal from. We have a pure coal source here, and we're gonna use that to pair it up with a pure iron source to get away with not using a lot of well, power shards. We could also potentially upgrade some existing Mark I coal miners and extract some of that coal for our purposes. But in any case, the steel manufacturing area will actually be right here. I think we're gonna use the global grid, so I'm just gonna see where I wanna start the factory, and we're gonna build a little platform here, and this area will also double as our steel production. And we're actually gonna bring the steel parts home, I think, when we have made them here. So let us build a little area to build on. And of course, we already pre-made some blueprints. So we can snap the blueprint and see if we can make it somewhere around there, perhaps. Is that good? Well, we can play around a little bit until we have a platform. We're gonna have an output of 270 steel per minute, which happens to be the maximum rate we can transfer things with our current conveyor belts, which is why we chose this ratio. And it lines up perfectly with our machines, and we're of course going to make beams and steel pipes on a big scale. So here we are at the previous steel manufacturing facility, and on here we of course make encased industrial beams by the previous source, because that's something we also need. And we have a free iron source here, and this happens to be a pure source, so we have put a Mark II miner here. That means we have a base output of 240, and we're gonna overclock it so we get 270. So we'll just overclock it by a little bit, not so much actually, but yeah, it's worth it. So I'm going to make sure I have Mark III belts, and this is a Mark III lift, and basically drag a little line of iron over there. So we are dragging iron and coal back and forth, but that works pretty fine, so why not? And the iron is here. Perfect. So then we need to get the coal, and as said, we have a pure source over there. So we're going to set up another little coal mine over here. And we of course should overclock it, so it's also giving an output of 270. And there we have it. We are producing some coal here. You can see we boxed it in a little bit. And we overclocked it, so it also has an output of 270. Alright, so here we are at the platform, and as you might remember, we need a foundry to make steel. And as you also might remember, the default intake for the foundry is 45 iron per minute, as well as 45 coal per minute. And then you might wonder, what is 270 divided by 45? Well, that's 6. This means that we just calculated the amount of foundries we will need. And we have calculated that we need 6 foundries in order to process all these coal and, well, all the coal and all the iron. And I just see I'll need to get some more modular frames. That's unfortunate. Sometimes it's actually just worth to slap a couple together and you might save some time. Very rare, mostly it's more valuable to go and get them, but sometimes it's actually a good thing to just make, 20 more or something. Alright, when connecting them up, remember that we should use Mark III belts here, because if you don't, you will have quite the limited speed. Because, of course, the source is 270 and the belt speed is 270, so make sure that when we are connecting up the coal and the iron, it has to be 270 all along. And one thing you can see here, I drawn this on a little elevation, just a tiny little bit up in the air. And that is because if we do that, we can then connect up a splitter right there on top of that. And then we can take a Mark I belt and just drag it down like this. And as you can see, we can have space for inserting the iron below. So I'm gonna connect up all of this. And each of these require 270, and we need to set them up. And we're gonna have them at 100, but just hover over one, click Ctrl C, and then Ctrl V on all the other ones, and they should be set up. Just like that. Super fast. And since it was some time ago I mentioned this tip, I'm gonna mention it again. When we try to align this, we can hold Control and it should snap into place on where it should be above there. So it's kinda easy. Right, now we will drag down here, and here you can see inside of here we have a little tree. This is a little bonsai tree inside the factory because it's gonna get so little light it will barely grow. But if it survives, we have beautiful windows to look at it. Isn't that nice? We should of course connect up all of these, and what we do, we have a splitter in front of this one. And then we can have a splitter at the same kind of line as this one. It's gonna be pretty handy. And we make sure the input is backwards there, and then we can see with the green line when they line up like that. We can insert that one there and connect up them in between. Very nice. And then we can easily attach the splitters for each the machines in between. And there we have it. All of them should now be connected up. This means that if we look at the foundries, we're making 45 steel per minute, and 45 times 6, that's 270. So we should now be producing 270 steel per minute. And we're of course gonna drag out and combine the output of these foundries, and we can then be able to connect up some manufacturing machines. And I think we'll do that on a floor above or here, we'll see. And there we go, and there we go. Right. Now we should see steel coming out from all of them except... and now we can see if we forgot any connection. Alright, this one... Oh yeah, producing there, coming out steel, 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 steel. Perfect. So, here we have it. Now we should be making some machines. So how many machines do we then need? What can we do with the 270 coals per minute? So, to make some calculations here, we can see that to make steel beams we need 60 steel ingots per minute, and to make steel pipes we need 30 steel ingots per minute. So now we basically need to do some calculations to make a decent distribution of how many steel ingots we're gonna use for pipes and how many we're gonna use for beams. And we're probably gonna use more for beams because you generally require more beams and you make more pipes per much less material too. So there is that. We can adapt this a little bit later if we want to, but I think we're gonna make an initial setup that's basically half and half. So we need 6 machines in total. 3 of them are gonna make steel beams, and 3 of them are gonna make steel pipes. So we're just gonna set up 3 and 3, and I think we can fit it inside of here, and then we can export the materials. Alright, so I've boxed this facility in a little bit. We can still see the little bonsai tree there, even though the reflection is just a little bit hardcore. But anyways, we can walk around here. It's looking pretty nice. We have facilities, we can move around. We can even kind of ish walk a bit in between of the factories. Well, I'm slowly improving my visual building. And of course we have a little window so that the arm kind of doesn't clip through the wall. Stuff that's important. So let's set this up. This is a steel pipe. So this one and this one also makes steel pipes. And then we'll have steel beams. Steel beams for this one and this one. So now we can see that steel ingots are filling up. And we should of course do a... These are 15, right? And these are 20. So we take 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. 105. So from Mark II belts, Mark II or Mark III belts, we can get some material homes using home using that. So we're going to merge up all of these outputs, and we're going to, well, basically connect them up to the same line. We're going to take all of them home using the same line. And we might actually bring some other stuff on this belt. I'm thinking we're going to do a little connection belt to the main base from here, and it's going to transport steel. But it's also going to transport some extra coal, I believe, and maybe we're even going to throw in the encased industrial beams there, so we can get some components from here. But in any case, let's merge these together. Alright, so here we are. We are making 270 steel per minute, and we are immediately transforming it into items. Quite useful indeed. So they're going in here, everything is being combined up. Next time we're going to talk about smart splitters and doing some research like that. We're gonna look at that later. But here you can see everything seems to be working fine, and a way to check that is of course to see if the machines are thinking they are producing stuff at 100% efficiency. One thing you should definitely do is to write what your facility even manufactures. So this produces 45 steel beams per minute and 60 pipes per minute. And that's quite useful information to have, since we are going to take this home. And at base, we do want to know exactly how much we get without needing to do some kind of counting or going back here and count the machines. So it's smart to kind of write up the whatever values you have, and of course we might need to go here to see how much it was, but we of course take the values home and make an equal sign when we have drawn it with the home connection. In any case, one thing we are going to do is of course making a home line connection. You can kind of see a bit of it a little bit in the far distance. It's not complete. And I decided that with the peach color, I think the lemon color works really well for the pipes. A little pastel. We should, of course, actually dive in here and just check the efficiency so everything is like well set up. They're still filling this container. It's not quite full yet, but almost. When I was doing some other stuff there. There we can see 100%, 100%. Yeah, very nice. And we should take this time to say thanks to our Patreons who are supporting this channel and can make it so that we can produce more videos than I otherwise could have. So thanks a lot for supporting the channel. Admiral LCG Canyon, and we have Captain Scooberox, we have Commander Ejin, Lieutenant Asteria, Lieutenant Powered by Greed, and Lieutenant Tyler Russ. So, thanks for supporting the channel, and if you want to support the channel too, you can check out the Patreon, and I shared a little world. I I actually share this world with my Patreon. I added it as a benefit to kind of share some files from different games we play and different stuff. So for any Patreon that is watching the Satisfactory content and enjoying it, a update of my world will be available now and then if anyone wants to check out the world we have here outside these videos. The supporters can then gain, well, have their own copy of this thing, if anyone wants that. But in any case, that's available. And with that said, thanks a lot for watching. This is your host, Gmodism, and we will be back next week with a new episode. Gmodism signing out. Bye bye.